Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the Grow From The Network. And today I want to start this video a little bit different. I want to start out by saying, prayers go out to the people in Turkey. It's amazing, and it's going to kind of lead into today's video. It's amazing how within a split second your life can just change. And I'm sure not one person. I remember the first day when I saw the earthquake, it was saying like 3,000 people or 2,000 to 3,000. And it's strange, it's eerily strange that every day the death tolls just rise higher and higher. And as I was saying, not one person woke up that day or went to sleep that night and thought to themselves that today would be the day that I die. Today would be the day that I cease to exist on this planet, in this realm. I look sometimes and I think of, even when it was at 2,000 and 3,000, oftentimes when I see death tolls and I see these massive events, I think to myself, how many doctors, how many lawyers, how many world changers probably just passed away? How many people that could have affected this world in such an amazing capacity for good? I oftentimes think about that. Like, we lost some good people. 12,000 people out of that 12,000, I'm sure it's at least one or two that was looking to do great things in their lives. Beautiful people, little children, grandmothers, newborns, people that have just had their child, and it's over. Brings me to today's topic. What are we most afraid of? Are we most afraid to die? Because you see that all the time. You see death all the time. You just seen it. I just talked about it. That's a real fear in some people's lives, to lose their life, to actually die. And so I thought of that question. What are we most afraid of? Are we really more afraid to die, or are we more afraid to live? Because what is death? You got to think about that. When you think of life and you think of death, you say, what is death? Death is, even for a Christian, death is an unknown. And I know I'm going to get some pushback from that, but I'll give you a little context of where I'm coming from as it relates to this conversation, because you're going to say, oh no, after that, we already know what's going to happen. No, you don't. No, we don't. And even if, I'm not saying it's a good or bad, I'm just saying, even in Revelations, we find out that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man what the Lord has in store for us after we die. That means we've never even thought of it. We've never even fathomed what the afterlife will really be like. We're just making assumptions. We've gotten little glimpses of things that it may be, but until you get there, you don't really 100% know. You can never 100% know. Another part of the Bible where a guy had died, and they say he was in wherever he was, and he asked God, let me go back and warn my brothers what this place is like so they don't come here. He said, nah, they got prophets. They can talk to the prophets. You not going back. That's that. That's that unknown. But I've also realized from living a long enough life, I've also realized that in living, it's also an unknown. Taking those chances, making different choices, with every choice, there's an unknown variable to it, which stops many people from living because you're afraid. You're just as afraid to live as you are to die. You're just as afraid to take that next step and jump at that opportunity, jump at that chance. You're just as afraid of doing that as you are dying. The only thing with dying is you don't have a choice. Being afraid to die, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're afraid, you're going to die. With living, you can be alive and make a choice not to fully live. You can make a choice not to make that choice because it's too much uncertainty behind it. How many people have thrown aside their dreams to travel the world and make the excuse, oh, I got children, or when my children graduate? And then when your children graduate, you make another excuse. Oh, I got to be here for my grandchildren. Or men and women alike, you know. Your friends will tell you, you don't know what country you're going to. You don't know the people there. What if something happens to you? What if you get kidnapped? What if you die over there? You mean to tell me that you're worried about dying, but you're not worried about living? These are things we have to think on. These are things that as humans we have to fight with every day. What are we really afraid of? I know what we're afraid of when it comes to dying, but what are we really afraid of when it comes to living? Why haven't you pulled the trigger on that business deal? And it doesn't matter if it works out or not sometimes. It's just the experience. It's the experience of life to be able to say, man, I tried that before. It didn't work out for me. It might work out for you, but it didn't work out for me. Better than just saying, oh, I was about to do that one time, but I never did it. That's a big difference. Life is about the experience. Life is about the experience of living. I know we're afraid. I know you're afraid of the uncertainties. And you have doubt about what's next. What's coming after this. But we're not talking about dying when we say those things sometimes. Sometimes we're still alive and we're afraid of what comes next. What comes after I date this man? What comes after I say I do? Is he gonna change up on me? Is he a man beater? Is he a woman abuser? You know, what comes after I have children for him? What comes after I have children with her? And a lot of times those questions, because we don't have 100% certainty of what's going to happen next, we choose to just not do it. What happens if I like this traveling? What happens if I go to Miami and I end up liking it out there? What happens if I go to Atlanta or Georgia or Houston or Texas or New York or California? What happens if I like it out there? What happens if it's better than what I thought it would be? Well, then I'm going to have to make a decision, because now I'm going to be forced with, do I want a better life? Do I want something better? Do I want something greater that's over here than where I am now? Can I make that choice? Many times we're afraid that life is going to make us make some choices that we're not comfortable making. That's my question today. Are you afraid to die? Or are you afraid to live? It can be both. You say, who would be afraid to live? Why would anybody be afraid to live? I can understand being afraid to die, but nobody's afraid to live. You see it every day. You see people ending their lives every day on their own, without an earthquake, without a natural disaster, without a tsunami, without a volcano eruption. People are ending their lives by the thousands every day because they don't want to live, because they don't want to go on, because they can't take what's next. So people are afraid to live. Don't give me no pushback on that. People are afraid to live. Just as afraid as they are of dying sometimes. Some people would rather die than live. Like I say, they end their own lives. They're not as afraid of dying as they are afraid of living. Think about that. People more afraid to see the next day. People more afraid of the next choice they're going to have to make than dying. They welcome death faster than they would welcome living. So people are afraid to live. My question to you is, what are you afraid of? The choices that you're making right now, what does it say about you? What does it say? Does it say you're afraid to die? Or does it say you're afraid to live? Are you living? I know you're alive. I'm not asking that, because if you're watching me, you're alive. Maybe got some spirits out here watching me too. But if you're watching me on YouTube, you're alive. But are you living? Are you really living? 5 years ago, you started watching these videos and you said, I'm going to do that. I want that. Have you done it? Have you got that thing that you said you wanted? Are you living the life that you wanted to live? Or did you make choices to stay where you were 5 years ago and you're still there right now and you're still saying, I'm going to get that? But you haven't reached for it. You haven't exhausted all means, all things necessary to get to that position that you want it to be. Why? Why? We're going to talk about this a little bit later. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be 1,000% honest with ourselves. And we have to ask ourselves these questions. We have to sit down alone in a room, no TV, no family, no kids running around, no cell phone. And we have to sit down and actually just sit down and talk to ourselves. Mary, Sandra, Kevin, King, what are you most afraid of? Are you more afraid to die? Or are you more afraid to live? When you ask yourself that enough times, you'll get an answer. I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse, but you'll get an answer. And you'll become something different when you're able to be true to yourself. Thank y'all for watching the Go From The Network. And don't forget to pray for those all around the world starving, dying of thirst, dying of terminal illnesses and diseases, in hospitals and operating rooms. We pray for all of those people that want to live. We pray that those people have better lives. And those people that's looking, hoping for debt, we pray that God would change their hearts as well and let them see that life is something actually worth living. Thank y'all for watching. And as always, grow, grow.